Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Alan's Italy. Tonight we have a special guest, one of my favorite guests, Franc Palaia. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Alan.
It's always a pleasure to have you, and my audience likes you as well. They always tell me they do, so whether they're trying to make me feel good or
Nice
not,
to
I
know.
don't know. Anyway, tonight we are going to be doing part two of the Towers of Italy show. Last week I did a variety of towers from all over Italy, and I actually got the idea from the show that Frank and I were planning many, many months ago with his polaroid photography of the towers, which I always love very much. And I said, well, maybe I could enhance that with doing my own thing the week before, because Laura and I had many, many towers from our collection, and I got some more from the internet. And towers are really a wonderful, a wonderful part of Italy, as well as other countries as well. So first, though, I would like to, excuse me, I have a bit of still under the weather here. And my doctor tells me it's going to take a little while. So here is the show, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, the tower that I'd like to begin with is the tower at the Vatican, which is not really part of the Vatican, but it's installed for the purpose of letting the populace know if a new pope has been elected. And the way they do it is the College of Cardinals meet in the Sistine Chapel, and they take a vote using ballots, and if no pope is elected, then they take the ballots, mix it with straw, and they burn it, and the smoke that comes out of the smokestack is a dark smoke. And if a pope is elected, then they don't mix it with the straw, the ballots, and the smoke comes out white. So this is what it looks like when they install it. This is what it looks like with the black smoke, and
Alan,
Go,
if I could just
feel free,
comment.
of course. So yes,
I wasn't aware of this, but they install the chimney specifically for this
right.
occasion.
Yes.
And what's shocking to me is that it's in the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Now, the thought of making a hole in the Sistine Chapel ceiling is, to me, horrifying, but
They put the hole right in the ceiling?
Well, the stoves are right in the Sistine Chapel.
How about just putting the stoves in the Sistine Chapel? If
Well,
anything goes wrong,
I don't know.
you've destroyed arguably the greatest piece of art in Western civilization.
It's just amazing to me that they stick to that old tradition. Where
All
they
right.
started thousands of years ago doing that. But anyway, yeah. So
They must have experts doing this, though. Like, and they
yeah.
say to the experts before the actual, hey, listen, before you light this, you got everything under control, right? Because we don't want to ruin,
Yes.
a big tourist attraction. This is what happened
Wow.
yesterday with the white smoke coming out, because they obviously, so the people knew that a pope had been elected.
That's a great
And
shot. Where did you get that?
I got it off the internet.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's everything is on the internet.
CNN maybe.
There's nothing not on the internet, so you can
Right.
get anything you want there. And this is the Pope,
Here he is.
and he is, I have to read this, Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio
Right.
of Buenos Aires, Argentina. He's the first Jesuit. He was born in Latin America, but his parents are Italian. And this is what Frank told me earlier. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So his last name is Bergoglio, and his middle name is an Italian name, Mario, and his first name is a Spanish, Argentinian name, Jorge.
Because he was born there.
And he chose the name Francis to honor Francis of Assisi, who is, if you study anything about St. Francis, you'll know that he was a wonderful man. I mean, his life was dedicated to helping poor people, and he lived a pretty austere life himself. And there's, an amazing cathedral that is named in his honor in Assisi, which is beautiful and has some of the most magnificent Giotto frescoes anywhere except perhaps the Scrovegni Chapel
In Padua, right.
in Padua. So that's Pope Francis, and
And he's the first
go ahead.
pope to call himself after St. Francis. I don't know, did you just say that or
I
not?
think I may have said
Yeah,
that.
okay, sorry.
But you said the thing
And-
about the lung. That
Yeah,
was-
one other odd thing about this new pope is that he has one lung. He had an infection when he was a child, and they removed the entire lung. So, and that was when he was a young boy. So, I guess you don't need two lungs to.
You don't need two lungs, but then this guy has become pope, and we don't know what that means yet. We don't know if that's going to change things or not. One would assume not, but you know, that's the way it is.
I
So-
thought it was kind of a sly move among the cardinals because there was a lot of clamor about electing a non-European
Mm.
pope,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
from another continent. So they got a twofer. They got someone from South America, but yet he's actually Italian. So they
Right.
kind of covered both bases there. Everybody's happy now.
Well, there was a fellow from Africa, right, who was in the running.
Yeah, I think the top five,
Right.
5 or 6.
So that was I was hoping for that. But what
Maybe
are you
next
gonna
time.
do? Maybe next time.
Yeah.
And who knows how old is this guy?
76. I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
so who knows? It's funny they elect popes almost with the intention of not keeping them around very long.
Well, they don't. 50s is a little too young. 80s is too old.
But why? Why is 50 a little too young?
Because
know?
then they'll last 30 years like John Paul, and that's kind of a long time.
You don't want a pope that's going to last 30 years.
Well, not if he's not a good
Not if he's
pope.
turning
Luckily,
out.
he was a pretty nice one.
And of course, the previous pope resigned because his health was poor, he claimed.
Yeah.
And that was the first pope to resign in 600 years.
Right.
So, okay, so we don't want to deviate too much because we have a lot to discuss.
Right. Well, also, Alan, I'm just wanted to mention. I know you're using that. No, go back to the tower. The I know this is Alan's Italy, but actually that tower is not Italy. It's Croatia. And sorry, I didn't tell you that in advance. And that weird thing in the middle there is a hand-colored section of the Polaroid film because it was an outdated piece of film. And it didn't develop in that area, so I added a flame to kind of fill in the gap.
I like that. I like the flame. And if I had known that it wasn't an Italian tower, it wouldn't have been there because Croatia, which is close to Italy, you know, is not Italy.
It's close.
So it's, you know,
It's close. Well, actually, you know, it was part of the Roman Empire, and Venice was. The Croatians say that Marco Polo was Venetian because Venice is sort of almost over. Venice, the Empire of Venice actually
right.
owned that part of Croatia, so they like to brag and say that Marco Polo is Croatian, but
Okay.
not really. So.
Okay. So that's, you know.
Okay.
So we'll be starting in just a moment. And we're just passing notes here a little bit. So I'll just have to do a little more work, and that'll work out for you. That's
good.
not going to be a big deal.
Okay.
Let's start
So-
right here. Let me make it bigger.
Right, yeah, that's good. So let me start off with the biggest tower in all of Italy, and one of the biggest towers in the world, I believe. It's 550 feet high, which is 55 stories, which is pretty tall. It's the Mole Antonelliana, named after the architect Alessandro Antonelli, built in the late 1800s. And originally it was supposed to be just a synagogue. And if you look at that roof, that kind of square dome design, which is very typical of European or Italian synagogues. They have that same square kind of dome design. It was quite ambitious for its day, just up to the top of that dome part, which was the end of the synagogue. And then the architect got even more ambitious, and he wanted to make it even bigger, and added that tower. And it took about 10 years to build, and it's now a museum. In fact, it's the tallest museum in the world. It's the Cinema Museum of Italy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I've been in the tower, and it is impressive, and especially the elevator ride to the top of the steeple, because the elevator is situated in the middle of the big open space that's toward the bottom there of the photograph, and it's a clear elevator, so it's glass. So as you go up very quickly, I think it only takes less than a minute to go up, and it's frightening because you feel like you're absolutely suspended in midair. I actually got a little queasy. I'm not usually afraid of heights, but I got queasy on this elevator because you don't expect it to be like that. You just feel like you're being shot out of a cannon almost.
Jeez.
Straight up into the top.
Because I've been in elevators that have gone up to the top of, for example, the Campanile in Venice on the Piazza San Marco goes up at least as high as that, if not higher.
Well, the thing is, but you're enclosed. You know?
Oh,
see, you don't, when you look out of the elevator, you just see nothing but air. You know, so you're like in midair because this is a huge dome here. This is very large. And it's a very fast elevator, and it makes it even more scary because it's fast.
So, okay, I'm not going up on this ride.
So it is an experience, and people who've been there, that's the one thing they mention all the time is the elevator ride. But the Cinema Museum part is very high tech. It's got a lot of bells and whistles of holograms and projections and all kinds of crazy furniture and displays. It's supposed to be quite interesting because it's very high tech, and being the tallest museum in the world, it just makes it kind of special. You know? And you have great views too of the Piedmont Alps.
Right,
you know,
I know.
Which Piedmont means foot of the mountain.
We almost visited Torino. We had planned a trip a couple of years ago and we were going to stay in Aosta. Right. And we were going to use that as a base for exploring the Matterhorn and also Mount Blanc. And then going south, we were going to go through Torino, but we canceled those plans.
It's an underappreciated city. It's actually a great, beautiful, great city with a lot of things to see, a lot of museums, and it's a very, very elegant, sophisticated city. It's the 4th largest city in Italy. And it was the capital of Italy for not too long, but it was the capital, and it's just a gem. It's famous for its piazzas. It has about maybe a dozen large piazzas, and it's just and they had the best gelato I think that I've experienced. So I have really fond memories of Torino, and of course they had the Olympics there a few years ago.
And my friend Lydia had an uncle who passed away recently, but I was once visiting Lydia in Italy, and I had to get out of an appointment with somebody that I had made in the United States but didn't want to attend this particular rendezvous. And I said to Lydia, give me an excuse, and she said, we're going to go visit my uncle in Torino because he's not feeling well, even though at the time he was feeling well. So I said, okay, and I spoke to this person, and I said, Lydia and I are driving to Torino. But of course, that was just a fallacy. So that didn't really happen.
All right. So,
okay, shall we move?
Yeah,
It's a beautiful tower, and I had no idea it was a synagogue when I put it on there.
Okay, now this is also Croatia, and I think that tower in the back is no, that's not the same one from the first image, but it's nearby.
Okay, so this is the reason I didn't notice.
That's a Roman column.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of Roman remains in Croatia, obviously, because
Yes.
Romans were there for centuries. So, and that's a hand-colored Polaroid. You could see, obviously, from the bright color. And now I don't know the name of that column or anything. It's just
Okay.
you know, just a column
That's
in
fine.
the middle of a kind of a piazza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the names of quite a few of these.
I didn't either
they-
last week, so it's
I
okay.
just liked them for what they were. I actually was doing a series of photographs of towers.
Mhm.
I was going to make kind of a poster or a calendar or something. I don't even remember. This is quite a while ago. But so I have a lot of tower photographs in Polaroid and also in color prints.
This is a beauty. I like the
Thanks.
blues.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, you know, the crayons that I use have about 6 or 7 different blues, so I get to blend all of them, you know, to
Mhm,
make a really
mhm.
nice, creamy, kind of delicious sky color,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
Well, now that's a famous one. That's the Torre from Piazza San Marco in Venice.
Okay. So
Quite
we did.
big,
We
and-
discussed that
Yes,
last week, but this
it's
is
Yeah, it has an
Beautiful.
amazing history, doesn't it? I mean,
yes. I
collapsed
read the
once
history. Fires,
Oh,
collapsed,
geez.
rebuilt.
Oh, boy.
You know, but it's been there a long time. So
And it is pretty huge. It's really out of scale almost compared to everything else. But it has an impressive big scale that doesn't seem too obnoxious or anything, you know. But it's like a landmark, a focal point. You know, it's sort of like an exclamation point next to that beautiful piazza there.
the piazza, of course, is you know, it's the only. There are squares in Venice, but there's only one piazza, the Piazza San Marco. Everything else is called a campo.
Right.
And when Napoleon came to the Piazza San Marco, he referred to it as the drawing room of Europe.
Mm.
And, you know, anywhere you are in Venice, no matter where you are in Venice, if you're coming up the Grand Canal, this is, you could see this.
Sure.
If you're coming from Murano or Burano, you could see this from a distance. So this is truly a landmark. And, you know, it's almost like a lighthouse for,
Mhm.
I mean, it
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
was the lighthouse for navigators
Maybe
during
it
the...
was. And there are two towers in the U.S. that are modeled after this tower.
Oh, is that right?
One in New York and one in San Francisco, and I photographed both of them.
Mhm.
The one in New York is, where is that? On like 23rd Street. Yeah, it's the Metropolitan Insurance Company, or
Is that right?
something like that. Metropolitan Insurance Company. And then the one in San Francisco is a little bigger, and it looks a little bit more like the original San Marco tower. And I'm not sure what's in there, but I actually have a Polaroid of
The
that.
MetLife building?
Is it maybe MetLife? Yeah. Is that
Wow.
it? Oh yeah, the MetLife.
Really?
That's it. Well, that's from Metropolitan.
My
yeah.
former brother-in-law is a vice president for MetLife.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay,
So now this is an interesting tower in Pistoia.
Hmm.
Pistoia is a medium-sized city not far from Pisa, and it's actually quite a nice small city, and it has a little bit of the characteristics of 3 or 4 other towers, kind of in one. It's got the columns like the
Like Pisa.
Pisa, right? Because it's not far, but it's square. It's not round, and it has a little bit of the San Marco roof there.
Mhm.
And it's quite big. It's not enormous, but
Has a
it's
clock
pretty
at the
good
bottom
size
there.
clock,
It's,
right?
you know.
So it has a little bit of everything going on. And
Pistoia is a town that is
Pistoia.
probably about an hour slightly northwest of Florence.
right, it's a little closer to Siena. It's kind of right in between Siena and Pisa. I should say Lucca, actually, not Pisa. Lucca.
Yeah,
Lucca.
it's on the way to Lucca.
Yeah.
It's on the way to
Right.
Lucca, which is kind of like, you know, south of Lucca is Pisa.
Right.
This is a beautiful tower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the one
It's in
from Croatia.
It's a nice tower too, but
It's a nice tower, but it's
yeah,
Croatia.
it's
And it was built by the Croatians or the Italians?
That's not Roman. No, that's built by.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
Okay.
Now this, I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's in Bologna, because I kind of recognize that the main church in Bologna has a very, very plain brown facade. And
Not one of the Due Torre.
No,
Different one. Okay.
That's a campanile. You can see the
Right,
windows.
right,
You know,
right.
so the sound of the bell comes
I
out.
mentioned that the campaniles were different from the
Right.
the domicile towers
Yeah.
that were built by the
that was a
Romans.
very nice list of different
Yeah,
kinds
yeah.
of towers. So, but anyway, I kind of, and you even mentioned that cypress tree. I think you showed this last week.
Well,
You
no,
mentioned that
because
cypress
no,
tree
that was the monastery at San Altimo
Oh, that's right.
in central
that's right.
Tuscany
That's right.
that had the cypress tree.
Very
So
similar.
I just realized when I looked at this, I said this is
Yeah.
very similar to the same picture
Mhm.
that you would see if you looked at this central Tuscany, and
Right.
it would that's the monastery
Right.
of San Antimo, which
Okay.
is somewhere in the neighborhood of the Val d'Orcia area. Ah,
Well, you know that one.
yes, yes.
It's
This
in
is the
Florence.
this is Giotto's Campanile,
Right.
and you chose the view from the west, the western view with
Yeah.
I think the western, yes, the western view. So this is the baptistry over here.
Is it right across the street?
Yeah, it's
that's
supposed to
right.
be
You're right,
across
it
from the
is.
baptistry,
Yeah, that's
so-
that red photograph that you have.
Yes,
That's
I
it.
have the baptistry. That's a great
In
photograph.
fact, I took the picture, your photograph from the top of the Duomo.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
And because this is a Polaroid, I probably was situated so the sun is facing the subject, because Polaroid film is very sensitive. It needs a lot of light, or else
Mhm.
they don't come out very well. So that's probably why it looks very sunlit, because I was forced to shoot it from this angle to get that light, the bright light.
So you don't do the Polaroid photography anymore?
Well, you can't get the film.
Oh,
well, you
right,
can,
right,
but
right.
it's very complicated, and
Right.
I don't think it's as good as it used to be. So I kind of put my Polaroid camera to rest.
And incidentally, you cannot take the elevator to the top of this Campanile because
No.
you have to take the stairs, and therefore, I have never been there because.
Oh, well, I've been up it. I went up twice, and
Wow.
it's not that high. I mean, it's not a strenuous walk. It's it takes you maybe 15 minutes, maybe. That's
Right.
or less.
I guess I could do it if I really put my mind to it, but it would have to be a day when I was doing nothing else, no other walking and so on.
But I was there with several relatives, and half of us went up the tower, and the other half went up on the dome,
Oh, right.
the Duomo, and then we were up both at the top of each thing at the same time.
Is that right?
And we could see each other, and we were waving at each
Is
other.
that right? That's an
Yeah,
interesting
it was kind of
concept.
fun, because we weren't sure we could see each other, but
Wow.
yeah, so we planned it, and it worked out.
Who had the better view? You probably did.
They're both pretty good.
Right, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move out of Florence. There's another shot
Well,
of it.
different view of the
Different
tower,
view.
a little more dramatic.
A little more dramatic, right?
Yeah.
I did a few different
Mhm.
views of the Campanile when I was
Mhm.
showing it.
Mhm. Now this, I think you know. I'm not sure where this is. I think it's Montepulciano, but I'm not sure.
I don't recognize
I-
it from Montepulciano.
I labeled it when I sent it to you, but I
Really?
yeah.
Oh, well, that's not,
That's not
that's
happening.
my fault, so I apologize for that. But you think it was Montepulciano?
It's in that area. Yeah,
Okay.
It's definitely Tuscany, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now this is not a famous tower, but it really is just an apartment building, believe it or not, and it's
Oh.
right next to the American Academy in Rome, where I was on the one-year Rome Prize
Right, right,
fellowship. And this is just a very interesting, attractive, almost kind of Arab-looking
Mhm.
tower, and it was just a residency, so I couldn't resist photographing it because I loved the top of that jagged top. of the tower there. And
Well, it's a round. It's a round tower. Well, it's not round
no,
because
it's
it
not
looks
really
like.
round.
Is it octagonal? It doesn't look octagonal. It looks more like a hexagonal.
It could be octagonal because it's two, and two. Two angles on each side, 4 sides.
Right. So
But-
it could be octagonal. We don't know.
Oh.
We don't know for sure. But it's
Yeah.
quite beautiful. And again,
Yeah.
you know, you do
It'd be-
something really special to me anyway with the blues and purples. So
And that nice black tree on the left, I like that.
yeah, it's a beautiful.
Kind of balances out the photograph.
It's a beautiful composition. It's
Yeah.
just a beautiful composition.
Okay, now I added this one because it's a little different from the rest. This is a cylindrical tower, obviously, and it's in Ravenna. Ravenna has a lot of towers like this. For some reason, they're all, almost all of them were round, cylindrical. So, and I don't remember the name of it. It's actually a kind of an important church, but
Well, is that the Church of
I
San
don't think-
Vitale? The famous church with the, you know,
I don't think so.
Romanesque mosaics? No.
well, you know what? It could be, yes, because this was the biggest tower, so it probably was, yes.
I mean, that's the most famous of the mosaic churches
Yes,
in Ravenna
yes,
is
I
San
think it
Vitale,
was. I
but
think
there's
it
also
was.
other ones like San Apollinare and
Yeah,
Gala Placida.
because this was the biggest church with the biggest tower, so I would imagine it is, yes, the one with the.
And I'll tell you, I've never been to San Vitale, but I've seen pictures of it, and I am going in May. My friend is going to drive me from Florence.
Yes,
because I must see it.
Yes,
Must see it.
and it's not far from Venice either.
Right, but you know, we're
Yeah.
going just for the day trip.
Alright.
Day trip.
Yeah, you can do it in a day. You can do it in a full day.
I asked him. He said it's an hour and a half from Florence, and he'd be happy to drive me.
No, I
so-
mean the city. You can see the city pretty much in one day.
Oh yeah, I want to see it in one day. In fact, I have a little more bold plans for that particular day, but I'll just,
Yeah.
if it's Ravenna only, I'll take it.
Yeah. Now this is a, I don't know the name of this one either, but I thought it was a little different, and it's in Rome, and I would
Is it?
see it a lot, and I just liked the fact that it was white, pure white with a beautiful red roof. And it
What's
had-
the red roof? Is that the church?
No, not the bottom red roof. The roof.
Oh,
of
the
the
roof
tower.
on top is part of, yeah.
Yeah, and the nice contrast of the red roof and the white tower, and and it was quite big, massive almost, and I don't know. It's not attached to any really famous church or anything, but I just liked it as a tower.
And you don't know what this red is on the bottom?
No, that could just be any old house. Or
Yeah,
building,
okay.
Nothing special. Okay, now this is in Sicily, and it's in the city called Erice, and it's spelled E-R-I-C-E. Doesn't sound like what it looks like. Erice. It's in the
I know where it is.
western part of Sicily,
Right.
and it's a small town, kind of hill town, very very high up. You could almost see Tunisia from this spot. That's how high it is, and that's how close Sicily is to
Africa, yes.
Africa. But it just had a kind of a nice medieval look to it, and the light on the right hand side, and then I because it wasn't very colorful of a tower, I really jazzed up the sky, as you can see, with all that extra color.
I think it's a beautiful
kind of
tower because you know
contrast
what
it.
makes it, because it's high. Over here it's high,
Yes.
and over here it's low, and that's
Right.
unusual that it's not,
Right.
completely symmetrical
Exactly.
on the top. So
Right.
I think this is a beautiful shot.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's one of my favorites.
Even if I found one I didn't like, I certainly wouldn't tell you, but I have yet to find one that I don't like. So let's just keep moving. And this is,
Okay, now that's not my photograph.
is that right?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. But
We don't know where that came
But
from.
that's Parma, I believe. That's Parma.
I don't know where that came from either.
It's Parma. And the reason why I know it because the building on the right, it's a very unusual shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's one I didn't have from last week, so that would be,
That's Parma,
certainly
'cause-
something we should take a little look at.
I have friends, Italian friends from Parma, and we were visiting them. And it's a beautiful city too. It's small. It's not so huge. You can see it all in one day, and a lot of bike riders in Parma.
Right. In the Po Valley, I believe, right?
Yeah, and that tower actually looks a little bit like St. Mark's.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
It does indeed. Okay, so
And of course the Grande Torre in Siena.
wow.
That's pretty tall. It's taller than the Palazzo Vecchio. And I've been up there 2, maybe 3 times.
Right.
To the
We
top.
spoke about this tower on the show last
Yeah,
week.
that's
I
right.
mentioned the
Mhm.
Siena
Mm-hmm.
tower, and I showed the view of the tower from looking at the entire campo.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a really nice close up of that,
Mm-hmm.
and the distant one I didn't have as well. So this
Yeah.
is really good.
Yeah, those
And
are,
this is very, this is a really evocative view of the tower in Siena.
well, they were rival cities, Siena and Florence, so that's probably why Siena wanted to have a
Taller tower.
It is not, it's not as big as Florence. I don't think it has as much great famous art, but their claim to fame is that their tower was
Right.
taller, and then,
Taller,
and then
yeah.
they have the Palio, that horse
Right.
race
Right.
Palio, which is
Twice
really
twice a year,
unique.
August and July. And I was there not the day of the Palio, but the day before.
Right.
Day before. You remember that I told you
Yeah,
that?
you told me that
Yeah.
story.
So we saw the whole setup and then realized, what was going to go on,
Yeah.
and we just weren't there
Yeah.
before that.
Okay. Now this, it's funny. You should include this one. It's not Italy. It's Cincinnati, Ohio, but it's the very first, one of the very first Polaroids I ever took, ever, and it's the first one that I hand colored, and this is 1981.
Wow.
So it goes way back, and it has a particular spot in my memory because it is the first Polaroid that I hand colored.
Wow, that's pretty
and it
amazing.
just was a kind of a nice Art Deco-ish kind of tower anyway, and it didn't have any windows. Thought it was unusual, but beautiful geometric design, and even that telephone pole on the left almost looks like a crucifixion.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why.
which
Yes, but
kinda
it's not a crucifix.
No, it's just a telephone pole.
Okay.
But it has that kind of romantic, religious look
Right.
to it.
Right.
So maybe that's the little connection of to Italy for this
Right.
one.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not illegal.
Okay. Now this is in Sicily, and it's the tower, one of the 2 towers from Monreale, which is a beautiful church. And this film, maybe you can't tell, but was very outdated. And so the color on the tower is that muddy brown, because the colors were totally shot. And I made it, of course, by hand coloring it. I gave it that vibrant color in the sky, but the actual Polaroid was a very drab, gray and brown photograph.
We see a lot of palm trees in Italy, all over Italy, really.
Well,
Do they grow
not in
naturally,
the
or are they
north.
grown?
Not in the north.
No, but I mean,
I'd say from
Rome
Rome
and
down.
south. Yeah.
From Rome south, you see palm trees. Oh yeah, they're
There's okay.
they're out
That's
there.
interesting.
And then for the white of the windows of the tower, I used a little tiny dab of white out.
Oh, is that right?
On the original Polaroid to give it a little bit of an illumination.
Lovely. Get to Sicily someday.
And this is the same Monreale, just the other side, the other tower, which is a little different. And another palm tree, a little bigger one.
I didn't. You see the colors along the top?
That's because it was outdated.
I didn't remove that. I sometimes I modify them.
No, I like that. That's
I didn't want to remove that. I kept
No.
saying, should I take it out or not? And then I
No,
said,
no.
let's leave it and let Frank
No,
describe it.
That's because that's what started this whole series of Polaroids. Using on purpose, I would use the old outdated film. Some of the film was 10 years past its expiration date, but it gave me all these very weird, like those colors on top, ghost images and odd colors. And then what I would do is, instead of trying to hide the mistakes, I would exaggerate them. and it was like opening up a whole new world of a series of photographs, and this is one of them. So. Okay, now this is Viterbo, which you showed last week.
Yeah, but it didn't look like that. I'll tell you
no.
that.
No, it was this my shot here. It was dusk, and with the polaroid, and that's why the tower and that beautiful shape on the right from another church, that silhouette was so black because it was dark. And I lightened the photograph by coloring the sky, but I like that contrast of the bright sky and the very, very dark tower and that beautiful sharp shape silhouette on the right. And then again I used the white out to illuminate the tower.
Windows. That's funny.
Little dabs of white. It just gives it a nice little nice touch. Kind of brings it to life.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, now this, we should have shown this in the beginning.
Yeah, I know, with the other, with the
This is the
mole.
original Mole Antonelliana, before they added the spire. But that's basically the synagogue.
Very good.
That's the synagogue. Now, if you know the Rome synagogue, it looks a lot like
Yes, it does.
And then there's also one that looks like this in Trieste, which I visited. Not as big as this one, but it has the same
This is
shape.
very similar to the Rome synagogue.
Yeah,
not the Florence
and
synagogue.
the Trieste.
Not the Florence synagogue.
No.
That's a dome.
Yeah, but for some reason they I don't know what it is about. Maybe, Alan, it's because of the balconies that you need in a synagogue for the women. Don't the women go on the balcony?
Don't know much about
okay.
the Jewish religion.
Okay.
I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm not.
That's right.
I'm not really there.
But anyway, so
I'm not really there.
Yeah.
I like this one. I don't know what
this is
this.
a funny little one. Yeah,
I like this very
I
much.
don't know, and nothing famous about it or anything. It just was a funny little kind of spiral tower.
Yeah.
And then I stuck that sign.
You stuck the sign in. That was the
on.
question. The question was, did they use this as a signpost?
No, I stuck it on there. I don't know. I just thought it needed some red.
All right. Well, that answers my question. And okay,
Yeah.
that's a cute tower. It's a cute tower anyway. Nice yellow tower.
Oh, there's that same one that I showed before.
Right. Okay, that's right. That's the same one. And you put that there yourself. The
yeah, the little
that
sign.
symbol.
Right.
All right.
That I don't remember where that is.
Okay. Well,
Might not even be Italy, to tell you the truth.
it
But
doesn't matter.
Could be.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
Now this is in Italy. This is outside of Rome.
Now that sign was there, right?
Yeah, that I didn't put that there.
Okay.
But to me, it just looked like a big sculpture, you know. It looked kind of ominous and kind of scary looking almost. It might be a water tower. I'm not even sure.
It sort of looks like the tower at the New York World's Fair of 1964
a little
with
bit,
the,
yeah.
you know.
But it just looks so massive and heavy, that solid
Yeah.
concrete, you know. I think this is San Gimignano,
Oh,
but not how you've ever seen it before.
no, my goodness.
Again, they're in silhouette, and then I made them blue and different colors. So, but I just liked it as kind of an abstract, minimalist photograph.
Right, and of course,
And the
I
red-
think there were
the red
15
flag.
towers out of the original 72.
72. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
I think there are more. I think there were more towers in Bologna. From what I've read, Bologna had like over 100.
That's right.
Trying to, and the families were trying to outdo each other. So
Now,
that was
I think Bologna has maybe 18 left.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's exactly right.
All right, now this is a triptych. Oh, I thought they were bigger than this. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's
Oh
fine.
well. Oh, the one on the left is in one of your and my little favorite town, QC.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it's right across the street from the restaurant that we both.
Zyro?
We both ate there.
Zyro?
Yeah,
Really?
with
Is that right?
With the gnocchi.
See, we went to Zyro at night, so we didn't
Okay.
really get to see
Well,
this.
this is just about a block away, or maybe half a block away, or right across the
Oh,
street.
wow.
Yeah. Then the middle tower is near Prato, and I thought it was a little different. I'm not sure what it is. It might be a water tower. I'm not sure. But I thought it was interesting. Then the tower on the right is the same one we saw earlier that was hand colored, that had the tree, the cypress tree on the left, but you don't see it there for some reason. I don't know why.
Now, why did you choose these three to make a triptych out of?
No particular reason.
It's a little symmetrical looking because these are kind of square.
They were just odd. They were all three of them kind of odd, and didn't really relate to each other. I kind of like the eclectic variety of the three.
Okay. Okay.
Gee, I'm sorry this is so small. I didn't realize it.
It's okay.
This is in Vinci, the town of Vinci, Leonardo's hometown. Nothing particularly exceptional about it. It's just that it was the biggest tower in the town, and it had kind of almost like a fairyland look to it.
That's okay.
Kind of like a Disneyland look to it.
I think all the towers are unique in their own way, and I think they were purposely made that way.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize I did it. These are a little better quality.
Yeah, this is
Those
a
are
better
ones
one.
we just saw those two.
Okay, so let's.
All right, and the left one on the left
The
you did
Siena.
last week. That's the Palazzo Vecchio. The middle one there is in Piedmont.
Oh, this is the Palazzo Vecchio?
Yeah.
I thought. Oh, I'm looking. I saw a little curvature. I thought that was Siena, but it's the Palazzo Vecchio.
Oh,
of
the
course.
Siena is red and white.
Oh, I hope my Italian friends who live in Florence are not gonna.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
But if you notice that the Siena Tower and the Palazzo Vecchio Tower are very similar in the upper part, the top.
Right.
Just the color is different. Siena is red at the bottom and white at the top.
Right.
The middle tower is in Pienza. It looks like sunset or dusk.
Mm.
And the one on the right is, that's Montepulciano. I think you talked about it last week.
Is that the one that's outside of town?
Yes.
There's one on your way outside of
as you're
town, a
going
very
into
famous
town.
church.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm very familiar
And
with
the
that.
church is to the right of it there.
Right.
And it's a pretty good size. And it's a beautiful gleaming white. The whole church is white. And it's beautifully situated. As you come into the town, you see this first, right?
Yeah.
The town is kind of in the back.
Right.
And it has a beautiful open field around it, and you can really just get a great view of the whole church without any obstruction, and it just has a nice presence.
Very famous church.
Yeah.
This one on the left, you pointed out the resemblance to the one in Siena, and that would be. Here's another show, yet another part, the Tower Show Part 3, where we take towers that have a strong similarity and discuss the whole history of that, because I'm sure that that's not an accident.
Oh boy, I that one in the middle, that's the third time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
But they all
remember,
look different every time.
Yeah, I don't remember these. Oh, wait a minute. The one on the left is Fiesole, small little town outside of.
Of course, I've been there 3 times. I just did a show on that, like 3 months ago.
Yeah, Fiesole.
Fiesole.
That's that kind of castle type.
Yeah, right, Fiesole.
The one on the right, I don't really know what it is.
Alrighty. And this is quite a challenge. I'm sorry to put you through this.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I don't know where any of these are, but
None of them. Well,
But
they're interesting.
yeah.
We could compare them to other ones we know. Certainly, the top looks. This does not look like the Campanile in Venice, but the top sort of,
The one on the right actually might be Montalcino.
Oh, is that right?
Maybe, yes.
Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah,
When we went to Montalcino, I wasn't doing a TV show, so we weren't taking as many photos.
Yeah, same with me.
So that's the problem with that. If I knew I was going to do this show during the previous 19 trips, I would have had like about 20,000 more pictures.
Yeah.
And I could have gone on forever. As it is, I think I will anyway.
Okay.
Any ideas?
The one on the left is Quirico d'Orcia. Sweet little town there in Tuscany.
In the Val d'Orcia area,
D'Orcia,
right.
yes. The middle one is actually not far from there, but I don't remember the town. It was just a little nondescript town, but it
Mhm.
had this massive tower. That's what caught my eye. And then the one on the right, it doesn't ring a bell.
I had a few towers I didn't know, and I mentioned that one of the towers was a tower that we had actually taken a picture of while driving past it, and I sent that tower to my friend Luca, who knows. I would say he's about the biggest expert on Tuscany I've ever met in my life. He didn't know, and then he showed it to every one of the people at the hotel, and none of them knew. So nobody knows.
All right, let's see.
It's okay not to know them, honestly. Don't
well,
feel
the one
bad.
on the right I thought was interesting because it's two colors. You know, it looks like they started with the white stone and maybe they ran out of
Changed
money,
their mind, huh?
or maybe I don't know. And then maybe years later they finished it with another color, which happens. I mean,
Yes,
it took
yes.
like the Leaning Tower of Pisa took decades and decades and decades to finish. But then the church part is kind of a combination of both the red and the white. So I just thought that was really odd that the tower.
It looks like they used two color bricks.
Yeah,
Two
the
kinds
red
of
and the
bricks,
white,
yeah.
But the tower is 50-50, and then the church is 50-50, but mixed. So just thought that I've never seen that anywhere. Ever.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I like the way there are always these cypress trees surrounding a lot of the towers. That's like to kind of offset that.
I think this is San Gimignano.
The San Gimignano, I recognize.
Yeah.
When you see four towers in close proximity, it usually means it's San Gimignano. It's because San Gimignano has the Manhattan
Right.
of Tuscany.
Yep.
My next show is, I've done these 3 library forums in Kingston, Saugerties, and Woodstock, and I'm finished with that, but I'm probably going to do other ones possibly in the summer. But I thought I would, a lot of people said they would like to have gone to the forums, but they were not able to for some reason. So I decided that I'm going to record the actual forum presentation next week, and then it'll be on YouTube, and it'll be in wider dissemination in the Woodstock area, so people will be able to see that. And of course now I'm on Saugerties Public Access, Newport's Public Access, and I just got onto Albany Public Access.
Wow.
So there it is. I didn't even tell Ellen this.
Jeez.
We're on Albany Public Access, and
Great.
again, I'd like to thank you very much for being here all the times you have, especially for this one. And we will be doing another show for certain, and that will be the Little Italy of Poughkeepsie show, which will highlight your mural that is a beautiful mural that I have hanging in my den. You gave me that framed one, so that'll be great. And I'm going to make this, online to you, that if you can come up with any other shows, you're always welcome on this show. This show, as far as I'm concerned, mi casa, what's it?
As tu casa.
Tu casa. It's probably, I've combined like 9 languages, so,
Yes.
But anytime you can come up with something, that'll be
Yes.
a pleasure to have you. So even though we have a few minutes, Ellen, it doesn't matter really,
You want to
right?
talk about the election?
Oh, you want to mention the election? Okay.
Sure. We have 10 minutes.
How much time do we have, Ellen?
10 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Oh, 5,
Okay,
sorry.
so I was going to mention this, but I wanted to really save it for the end in case it interrupted with the show. But there was an election in Italy that Rick Hurst and I discussed a few weeks ago, and it was fascinating. And you had an interesting take on it, so I'm going to leave it to you.
Well,
for the
okay,
remaining
in
2
a
minutes.
nutshell, there was a national election in Italy for prime minister. And unfortunately, it was like a 4-way mess. The person who got the most votes was Pierluigi Bersani, who's center-left Christian Democrat kind of person, sort of like an American Democrat. Maybe a little liberal, but not that liberal. He got 30% of the vote. Then in second place was, unfortunately, Silvio Berlusconi, who was already prime minister twice, and we thought he was completely dead in the water because of all the scandals and all the crazy and all the horrible comments he's made over the years, and he basically drove Italy down the drain, caused a lot of problems, and he's back from the dead.
Was he running because his 28-year-old future wife wanted to become the prime minister's wife?
Probably.
Maybe.
His big thing, though, how he snuck in and got a lot of votes this time, is that he promised in his campaign that he would give back all the back taxes that the previous prime minister had, because they're in debt like America, but much worse. So they're trying to cut the budgets and raise more tax revenue. So he promised everybody, "Oh, elect me and I'll give you back your taxes that you paid." So of course everybody said, "Well, okay, I'll vote for him and I'll get my $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever $1,000." So he came in second. Unfortunately, he had 29% of the vote. And third place was this guy named Beppe Grillo, who's sort of like the protest, throw all the bums out, Occupy kind of candidate, and he's actually a former comedian. So he's kind of like a cross between, I don't know, Jon Stewart and Ross Perot.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Kind of like
That's
a protest.
good comparison.
Yeah, kind of like a protest candidate.
Right.
And he got 15% of the vote. And the fourth place was Mario Monti, who was prime minister for a couple of years and actually was appointed. He's like not a politician. He was, I think, a banker, an economist, and he actually did a lot of good things to get Italy back on track, and things were actually looking much better. But of course, it was medicine that nobody wanted to take, so he came in fourth with 10% of the vote. So there was no real majority winner. So now they're all kind of squabbling, all these maneuvers, and Italy has like 80 political parties, which is ridiculous. They're all kind of redundant. Some of them they should really consolidate. So if Bersani and let's say Mario Monti, which I think are the two best of the four, combined, they would have a majority, of 40%. But then if Grillo and Berlusconi formed one, party or one movement, they'd be 45%, which is even more, which is not, I don't think...
There's no way on the planet
no way, no.
that Grillo is going to ally himself with Berlusconi.
No, of course not. But I'm saying this is the weird kind of like checkerboard,
Yes.
moving around.
Yes.
And so because it was totally unresolved, and Italians love to argue, and they don't seem to, So I think they should just have another election. I don't know how they can do that, but because everybody was very disappointed. Everybody, the Italians, the Europeans, the Americans. Most people, most leaders of the world want Mario Monti. They can live with Bersani. He's okay too. He's a smart guy, But Mario Monti was exactly the kind of medicine that Italy needed at that particular
Tough
time.
love, kind of a tough love.
Yeah, because he's smart. He's no nonsense. He's not corrupt. He speaks 5 languages. He's he's an economist. He's just absolutely the opposite of Berlusconi and all the other guys. So,
Okay.
anyway.
Well, thank you for that
Unfortunately,
analysis.
he's kind of dull. That was his.
Lyndon Johnson was pretty dull, and although he
Yeah.
was horrible in terms of foreign affairs with Vietnam and all,
Yeah, right.
he did some wonderful things
Yeah.
domestically.
I know.
Frank, thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank you for watching, and buonanotte e buona fortuna.